Yeah, so as you saw it in the previous slide, we have two stages in the life cycle of a plant, that is gametophytic and the sporophytic. So one fundamental here is gametophytic generation is always haploid if it is dominant like in bryophytes, or if it is confined to pollen grain and embryo sac in angiosperms. Wherever it occurs, it is always haploid and produces gametes in gametangia. So, where we produce the structure which holds gamete. Now, here I wanted you people to know more about thallophytes and embryophytes. As you know, the word phyte is always meaning plant. Now, which plants are called as thallophytes? Which plants are called as embryophytes? Now, if I write down thallophytes, so thallophytes are plants which has thallus. So, what do we mean by thallus? Thallus is undifferentiated structure. So, if you see the plant body, you can't say what is true stem, what are true roots, what are true leaves. We see everything is performed by one structure. So, such immature structure which is not differentiated into true stem, roots and leaves is called as thallus. This is based upon the artificial system of classification. Under thallophytes, we also have fungi, lichen and cyanobacteria, which are not plants, but still they are categorized because they don't have a differentiated body structure. Along with these are placed algae and bryophytes. So, if I am discussing you the life cycle of plants, under thallophytes, my point of interest is algae and bryophytes, because in this group these are the plants. So, both of them does not have an organized differentiated body structure. So, they are thallophytes. Whereas embryophytes. So, embryophytes means plants which bear embryo. Which bear embryo. The word embryo is a Greek terminology. In English, it means which is unborn. That means which is yet to take birth. So, if I say embryogenesis, it is growth of zygote before being delivered, because the word embryo means unborn. Embryophytes. So, we do have all type of plants as embryophytes. We have algae, I have bryophytes, haplodiplontic life cycle, pteridophytes, diplohaplontic life cycle, gymnosperms, plants with the naked seeds, diplontic life cycle, angiosperms or flowering plants, highly evolved plants, diplontic life cycle. So, algae are aquatic embryophytes, aquatic embryophytes, that means the plants which live in water, which holds the embryo for nourishment and protection. Whereas these four bryophytes being amphibians, these four are terrestrial embryophytes. So when we classify plants into thallophytes and embryophytes, it does not mean primitive or thallophytes and advanced or embryophytes. Even algae and bryophytes, which are thallophytes, are also embryophytes. So there is no classification here. There are fundamentals in understanding how the plant kingdom was classified initially. Am I clear? Yes.